So there is this post going viral on the internet about an employee who got fired from Starbucks after working there for 13 years. He kind of stood and held the sign saying fired from Starbucks after 13 years, which is great PR, just doing that. And obviously people are just waiting to use some post to go viral. And that turned out to be actually a huge deal for Starbucks. And I'm going to go a little bit into detail what happened, and particularly what are three things that you and I can learn being in the restaurant business or any business. After all, the principles are the same. But as you know, this is Making Dough show, and we talk about making dough in the restaurant business. My name is Hengam, and my husband and I, we own 6 restaurants here in the San Antonio area, and I love our industry and all kinds of shenanigans that goes with it. And today I'm going to dig into this story and 3 lessons that you and I can learn today and apply today so we don't suffer the consequences the way Starbucks is. So basically, this is what happened. This team member, it turned out, if you dig a little bit, you realize that this person worked at Starbucks for 13 years. That is a fact. And also what he did is that he closed the restaurant earlier, closed the Starbucks earlier. Either it was a previous week or actually a previous month. It was caught that he had closed the restaurant early. And that led to his termination. And so what happened is it came as a shock to this team member. So the first tip I have for you, is it that you do have in place an immediate termination policy? What are going to be 10 to 15 things that if they occur, that will lead to immediate termination? Do you have a list like that in your business? Because if that list is somewhere and it was properly communicated on an ongoing basis to the team members, it wouldn't be a shock. You know that if you steal money, that can lead to immediate termination. If you get into a physical fight with a customer, that's an immediate termination. If you close the restaurant early without approval of your superior, regional manager, whatever, maybe because there was a snow and people were stuck, there was a tornado, of course, there are cases for that. But if somebody was to close the restaurant early, that leads to your immediate termination. Is that a policy that everybody knows in the company? Because clearly, based on the reaction from this employee, that list is not well known, or it doesn't exist, or most likely it's not well known. The next thing is having a proper PR strategy. Starbucks did not come out quickly enough, and I don't even know because they're not really communicating that side of the story as much. And that's just so important for us as business owners to control the narrative and be proactive about putting information out. And that is, in this case, for instance, to communicate, hey, we do have a termination policy. If you close a restaurant early without blah, 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 that leads to immediate termination. And we're an equal opportunity kind of a company. So we can't just say, oh, hey, because you've been here 13 years, I won't fire you because you closed a restaurant. It can't be. We can be like, you know what? I've had 120 instances in the last 3 years in the Starbucks that we had to terminate employees for closing the restaurant early. So this is just equally, we have to treat all team members equally if you do that. So if you have a PR strategy and you were open about that policy and you were to put it out there, it wouldn't be that 17 states out there, people are rioting in front of Starbucks, trying to feed the narrative of unionizing Starbucks employees. So have a PR strategy. If this happens, what are you going to do to quickly get out there to control the narrative? Put a statement out on your social media, on your whatever, so you're able to be out. What's the media interested in is getting clicks and eyeballs. And people are interested in getting raged about something that they can get mad at. The other and last tip that is incredibly important if you're in serving any capacity in a business is that you must be obsessed with documentation. And I tell this to our staff because nobody loves doing it, of course. Nobody loves to go to the gym either. Nobody wants to have eat healthy food either, of course. Okay, what's the shocker? You're not going to document. Nobody likes homework either. So get over it and get it done. Here's what I tell our staff all the time. Listen, if you're a doctor, it doesn't matter what kind of a surgeon you are. You could be the best surgeon on the planet Earth. If you do not document what you did and whatever it is, there's a documentation associated with medical work. If you don't do that, you could very well get fired. If you're a police officer, you could be the best. If you do not document an incident after whatever it happened thoroughly, you could get fired. Documentation is very important in any business, in any career out there. So we need to get good at it and get over it as part of a success in the career world. So Let's talk about documenting. You need to have ongoing documentation of performance. If this team member was around for 13 years and there were other issues with this team member, are there documentation? They were late in the last year. Of course, if you've been around for 13 years, you have grown. I'm not saying to hold that against a team member, but in the last year, you were late 3 times. You called in this many times. You dropped this many times. Whatever it is that the mistakes that happened with this team member, if you have everything documented. And something like this happens that it was the last piece is that you closed the restaurant early on top of all the other issues that we've had with this employee, that led to your termination. It wasn't just the fact that you closed the restaurant. There are all these other instances that you had issues, and we had issues with the performance of this team member if it's properly documented. When an issue comes out like that, and the media is going crazy, and yes, you cannot go itemize and you need to keep the employees' things private, of course, but what you can come out and say is that, hey, there were many different instances and issues with this team member at hand, and out of privacy, we're not able to disclose it. So people can be like, okay, isn't that this person was a saint for the last 13 years that we fired them? And if you have documentation, the employee would not be shocked to be terminated. You already knew it was happening. You already knew that you had 5 different coaching slips or 3 write-ups in the last year, and you knew that that's going to lead to your termination, which it seems that maybe it wasn't in place for this particular employee. Now, I'm not feeling sorry for Starbucks. They're on their own. They're doing just fine with thousands of stores around the world serving coffee very expensively. Again, people go do business with them, and that is fine. I sometimes go there, and obviously we're very pro local coffee shops and supporting the best we can. But I do think we can always learn and put ourselves in the shoes of some of these big guys and figure out what can we learn out of this so we are not going to experience those same pains. Tell me your thoughts on this news that was out. If you're in the restaurant business, I would love to hear your thoughts. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss any future ones. And with that, let's get back to work and make some dough. Thank you. Bye-bye.